recording. And we're going to start off by looking at a fun video. We rarely watch videos, right? So it's good. And we are going to look at symbolism. And we're going to look at how symbolism is used to analyze literature. So thumbs up if you can see the yellow box that says symbolism. Thank you. Okay, so what we are going to do is watch this video. I will not make you take notes on it, but if you're staring at your screen laughing, then you're probably not paying that much attention, right? Since I didn't say anything funny, right? 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 Right. Exactly. So we're all going to have all our distractions put away. We're not going to be watching videos or playing with our friends or talking to our friends or laughing at whatever's not funny, because I know I'm not being funny right now. And we're going to remember that I only get 60 minutes with you guys every other day, right? And for those 60 minutes, I have a lot to do. So please try to be fully involved. It's really important because ultimately you're tested on this stuff, right? Ultimately, you're going to have to write an essay about symbolism, just like you had to write an essay about ethos, pathos, logos. And I know I've been really bad on grading those, like, you know, slow, but you know, you gotta pay attention. So we're gonna start with this video. Like I said, we rarely watch videos, so it should be fun. And we are going to look at how symbolism is used in literature.
I am Mr. Sato, here to explain symbolism. There used to be an anti-drug public service announcement that went like this. This is your brain, this is drugs, this is your brain on drugs. That's the kind of symbolism, and you understand it instantly. The egg represents, or is a symbol for, your brain. The pan is a symbol for drugs. The relationship between the two is that the drugs are your brain. Pretty obvious, right? This is a kind of symbolism, and you already understand it. So a symbol is a thing that represents or stands for something else, usually something you can see or touch that represents something more abstract, the way a logo represents an organization or a heart represents a feeling. That's easy. But those are visual symbols. Symbols can be written in words too. That's a little more interesting because it isn't as obvious as an egg in a frying pan. Not only that, you have to figure out yourself what the symbol represents. It could represent different things depending on how it's used. For example, in a work of literature, what do flowers represent? Love, hope, youth, death, just about anything? The best answer is just about anything, because what a symbol represents depends on what's around it, what's called context. Let's say you're reading a story in which a woman receives flowers from some guy. The two are very much in love, and she's really happy about getting the flowers. The author describes the flowers in such detail that they seem more important than just flowers. The image is made to stand out in some way, and if you're alert, you'll catch them. Later, the author takes time to describe the flowers again. This time, they're wilted or dead. An alert reader might see that the flowers are a symbol for something else, maybe the love between the two people, and that the flowers' later wilted condition is a sign or symbol that their love has wilted or died as well. Get it? The flowers equal their love. When the flowers die, it means their love has died. We know the flowers mean this because the context of the flowers is the love story. If the context was different, the meaning would be different. Let's say it was a story about gangsters. The dead flowers in that story could represent the knowledge that the character's life, like the flowers, will be short. It all depends on the context. Or here's another example from film instead of literature. In an old Swedish movie called Wild Strawberries, an old man takes a trip from one city to another. It's a long drive. But if you look at the context of the story, you'll see that the old man is also taking a trip into his past, into his memories. And just as he encounters surprises and unpleasantness on the physical trip, he's also discovering unpleasant things about himself and his life. The road trip is a symbol for a journey of self-discovery. Furthermore, do you see that in that earlier example that it isn't enough to say that the flowers symbolize the love? That's only half the job. You have to take one more step. You have to look at what the author wants you to feel about the symbol. Because the flowers are shown to be wilted, we're being invited to see that what happened to the symbol, the flowers, has also happened to the thing it represents, their love. So you have to look at the author's attitude towards that symbol. If the author's attitude is deeply respectful, then we are supposed to feel respect as well. If the author's attitude when writing about the wilted flowers is sad, then we're being told that maybe we should feel that way about the two people's wilted feelings for one another as well. I sometimes ask students to find symbols like these in Harper Lee's novel To Kill a Mockingbird. The mockingbird is a symbol. If a character we respect tells us that it's wrong to shoot a mockingbird, then if the mockingbird is a symbol for something or someone else, the author is saying it's wrong to harm that person or thing. If you wanted to get a theme out of that symbol, just figure out what that symbol represents in the real world, not in the fictional world. What in our world could be represented or symbolized by the mockingbird? Certain kinds of people, maybe? Once you get the hang of it, you'll see potential symbols in just about everything. In To Kill a Mockingbird, you can't throw a stick and not hit a symbol. The mockingbird, the mad dog, the house fire, Scout's ham costume, Jem's broken arm, Tom's disabled arm, Boo Radley's isolation, the mud and snowman, the geraniums, the roly-poly, and one of my favorites, the light bulb at the jailhouse. The trick is seeing the relationships between things in the book and then finding the same relationships somewhere else, in other parts of the book or in the world we live in. Furthermore, to my thinking, it doesn't matter whether or not the author put that symbol there on purpose. If your imagination sees symbolic meaning and you can support that meaning with evidence from the book, then it's there. Thinking up a symbol is exactly that, thinking. Learning to think, not just know, is the most valuable thing you can learn in school. Just remember, 1, find something that stands out in the book that seems to call attention to itself and look at the context around it. Next, 2, does that thing resemble something else in the book or in the world in general? One could be a symbol for the other. And 3, look at the author's attitude towards it. Whatever we're supposed to feel about the symbol, we're also supposed to feel about the thing the symbol represents. The value in learning about symbols is that it teaches you to see beyond the surface of a thing, of a person, of a real-life situation or event, and see the abstract relationships at work there. If you can find meaning in a book's symbols, then you can find meaning in your own life and your own world. Now, go find some symbols and happy hunting.
Okay, so that gives us, we do not want to watch the next one. Let's see. So that gives us an idea about what symbolism is. However, I think for us to fully understand, we need to take a few notes. So we are going to be looking at, I see a lot of people came in late. I think there is something going on. So I will, I will post this video so that you can see the assignment in its entirety on Canvas. So what we are going to look at now is just a few notes that will help solidify your understanding of the video we just watched and of the concept of symbolism in general. So please take out a pen and paper and take the following notes. There's going to be 4 notes, and then you're going to be making a chart. Whether you do this on a digital screen or by hand is up to you. Ultimately, whatever is easiest for you to copy down. So if you know how to split your screen, great. If you don't, maybe just do it on a piece of handwritten paper so that you don't have to worry about that. Yes, if you need to go get paper or whatever, that's fine. It's okay. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys are having issues with getting on. I won't mark you tardy if it was like a thing, because I know our laptops suck. So I understand that. So the goal of today is to take some notes regarding symbolism. If you missed the video, I'll post that on Canvas. tonight, because I'll be putting a whole screen recording of what I'm doing right now. And we're just going to take these notes and then do a chart so that you can be prepared for your homework tonight, which I'll talk about soon. So symbolism is when one object or a thing in a story represents an idea or an emotion to one of the characters. Make sure you copy down these notes. So symbolism is when one object or thing in a story represents an idea or an emotion to one of the characters. Symbols can represent anything. The way we interpret the symbol is dependent on the context of how it is used or talked about in the story. So Leah, we're just taking notes right now on symbolism, and we watched a video on symbolism, which I will post on Canvas tonight. So remember that symbolism is really not something that's a one size fits all. And we'll talk about that once we take down these notes. I'll put up the next note. Okay, so hopefully you have enough time to take these down. If not, I will also post these on Canvas, or you can maybe screenshot them or take a picture. So what we're going to do today is now apply our knowledge of symbols to the story Gift of the Magi. But first, let's just talk about Let's just talk about symbolism for a second, because symbolism isn't one size fits all, right? Symbolism is really dependent on the story. So it's not like I have some guide where I'm like, oh, there's a bird in the story? Let's see what bird means. Ah, bird means freedom. Everybody, bird means freedom. No, it's not like that. Flowers in one story could represent a relationship, right? Maybe like in the video we looked at, there's a couple and they just got married and he takes her into this new apartment that they've just gotten together, and there's this beautiful vase of flowers sitting on the table. And this flower display is fresh and beautiful and colorful and different, unique, vibrant, exotic. And just like the flowers are all these things, so is their relationship, right? And so you can say the flowers represent the relationship, but it's not enough to just say, oh, the flowers represent the relationship, right? Instead, you have to say the flowers represent the relationship in that just like the flowers are fresh, new, different, unique, so is their relationship. But as the flowers become neglected, people forget to water the flowers. There's bickering in the home, arguments late at night. The flowers start to die. They wilt, petals fall off one by one. And now the flowers are still representing the relationship, but they're representing the decay of the relationship. Ooh, that works, because that word decay works on both levels too, right? They're representing how piece by piece, petal by petal, the relationship is breaking apart, right? Just like the flowers are breaking apart, right? Every little argument, right? And then maybe one day they're having a big argument and she gestures wildly and she knocks the vase off on the floor. And now these flowers, which were already wilted, not watered, not taken care of, should have been discarded a long time ago. Now there's broken glass all over the floor. And these shards of glass are not only dangerous, but also ugly and violent. And just like the shards of glass are on the floor surrounded by these flowers that once were beautiful, so is all of that hate and all of that jealousy and all of that resentment or whatever's making that relationship decay. So is that breaking up the relationship. And if it wasn't bad enough, now we have this broken glass. If it wasn't bad enough, maybe in the story, you know, he cheats on her, or none of this is from personal experience, by the way. I've been happily married for 10 years, but you know, you have a relationship that's volatile. You have these flowers that are broken. Now the flowers are still representing the relationship, but they're representing the chaos, the violence, the absolute finality. There's no way this vase can be repaired. There's no way that you can take all these little pieces of shards and try to put them back together. And if you did, you would hurt your own fingers. And now we can get into the symbolism of like how sometimes it's better just to walk away. And maybe it's better to throw out the flowers when they start to, maybe when the flowers started to wilt and you noticed that you weren't watering them, maybe you should have just thrown them out, right? Maybe that would have saved everyone a lot of pain and heartache. And now it's like, we've been talking about flowers for like 10 minutes. That's because the flowers are the symbolism, right? And flowers in that story represent the relationship. And we looked at how that flower symbol changed throughout the story. And that allowed us to look at how their relationship was changing and what the author wanted us to say about those two and how they're connected. Also in that video, there was like a mobster, right? Like, you know, a mob boss, and maybe he gives, you know, maybe you wake up one morning and you're working with the mob and you open the door and on your doorstep is dead flowers, right? Maybe the dead flowers represent a threat, you know, like, oh, just like you, these flowers are going to go back in the ground, you know, like you're next, right? So we have the flowers representing something completely different, and that then is also symbolism. So like I said, there's not one size fits all. Today, we are going to look at specifically how the symbolism in Gift of the Magi functions. And as you might recall from the story on page 105, it says, now there were two possessions of, actually, I think it's 106. Now there were two possessions in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch. The other was Della's hair. So that then, you know, establishes that there's two items that are focused on, because remember, how to find symbolism is look for something that's really focused on, that's really talked about. You are going to draw this chart, quite simple, just 6 boxes. And you are going to, in the first box, just write the two symbols that we're going to be looking at today, Jim's watch and Della's hair. And then you on your own in your book on maybe page 105 or 106 are going to find 2 quotes about Jim's watch, and you're going to glue those together using the ellipses. Why do you have to use the ellipses? Because there's really good quotes throughout the story. You might find a sentence that describes how golden Jim's watch is. You might describe another sentence that talks about the heirloom being passed on from generation to generation. You might find another sentence talking about how he pulls it out to look at the time even when he doesn't have to, so that, oh, you're looking, oh, sorry. I don't know what happened. You guys could only see the notes, not the chart. Sorry about that. There we go. So this is the chart I've been talking about. Sorry that you could not see that. Sometimes the screen share does weird things when there's multiple windows of the same app open. And that is a sentence that we will only be saying in 2020, right? Not, imagine that sentence would have sounded like gibberish to someone in, 1950, right? They would have been like, the what is what, only in the what and the what now? It's funny how language has really evolved with technology. What you see now on the screen, hopefully, is Jim's watch. Della's hair is the first column. Then you'll find 2 quotes about Jim's watch and 2 quotes about Della's hair. And each of those quotes you'll glue together. So maybe the first sentence is like, Jim's watch was super gold and golden. And the second sentence is like, and his ancestors gave it to him. It was passed on by his father and his father's father. Those are 2 good sentences that both talk about the watch, but they're not right next to each other. You can then glue them together using this little trick. And I didn't learn about these brackets and ellipses till like college. And I was like, what the heck? You mean I could have had the best of both worlds in my quotes prior to learning about this? You mean I could have found a good quote up here and a good quote below here, and I could have put those together and talked about both of them in the same paragraph? What have I been doing with my life? So that's something that will really help you for the next 8 years at least of academia. So you definitely want to get comfortable using it. That is where you're gluing 2 quotes together, quote A and quote B, using the brackets, right? So now, the thing that you would do that's still the same is you would still drop the last period, right? You don't have a period here because that's going to go after the quote. And then your citation would be have a comma in it instead of just a single, a single number, because what you're doing is one quote is maybe from page 105, your other quote is from 106. Why you're not putting a dash is because that would imply that the quote continues on to page 106. That is, say you were doing one quote from page 105, the very bottom, and one from the very top of 106, but they were still connected. Well, then you wouldn't be using these ellipses, right? And then you would be saying, I got this quote half from 105 and half from 106. But if you're using the ellipses, you're getting it from 2 different pages. And maybe both of those pages are on 105. And so you really don't have to do anything differently. But maybe one's from 105 and one's from 106. Then instead of a dash, it's not a continuation, it's and. It's 105 and 106, not 105 through 106. So little things like that, can make your paper look more finessed. So once you find those 2 quotes, write a sample, you are going to have 2 options for what to do with, this is basically your purple, right? And that is, if you're like, I'm not really sure what these represent yet, I kind of need some guidance. What do you think they represent, Ms. Tucker? Then go ahead and copy my analysis down. Jim's watch is a symbol of his pride. Jim has a nice watch, but nothing to put on it, so he never takes it out. For Jim, his lack of money is shameful, but his watch is one source of confidence. I might say, it's his watch is tied to his worth as a man because men had to bring home money. And that then would be my analysis of the watch, and how maybe I talk about how he is embarrassed by how the watch doesn't have a chain, but that the watch itself is rich and prideful, and how that represents how he is a man with not a lot of money, but he is, as a man, a strong, hardworking, good person, which is ultimately why Della decides to sacrifice for him, right? Because what the author, O. Henry, is saying is that these people are the picture of love. These people are the true meaning of Christmas. And so you have to look at how do the symbols maybe represent the people or represent the people's emotions. For Della, her knee-length hair is a symbol of her pride, her beauty, this idea of her hair being a value, which like she was able to sell it, right? So like it was literally valuable. You were able to exchange it for money. And that then connects to being a female in the 19th century when looks were everything, right? So, I mean, you could get really deep and talk about like gender stereotypes and, you know, gender roles, but it's truly the analysis is what you see in it. So you can either copy my analysis now, but you still have to do your own later for the paragraph that you're going to write for homework. Or you could just start analyzing right now and just think about, well, gosh, what does Jim's watch symbolize? What does Della's hair symbolize? Ultimately, you're going to be taking this idea of symbolism and putting it into a rainbow paragraph. You can either write about Jim's watch or Della's hair, whichever one you feel like you can analyze more and pick out the details of more. And then that will be due for homework tomorrow night as a rainbow paragraph in MLA format, typed, color-coded, all that good stuff. And before the end of today, I will show you where on Canvas you can find the fill-in-the-blank outline for this rainbow paragraph. That is, for every single sentence, I've given you exactly what to write and sentence starters and little hints. And you'll also find on Canvas the model paragraph I'm going to show you by the end of today. So you'll have everything you need to do one paragraph on symbolism by tomorrow night. Okay, so I think you probably need about 10 to 15 minutes to copy this chart down, to find 2 quotes about Jim's watch glued together with ellipses and 2 quotes about Della's hair glued together with ellipses. Remember, you're looking for when they're described or when they're being interacted with or when they're being thought about or talked about. And then you can either copy my analysis, but you still have to do yours later in your paragraph, or you can just do your own analysis now, knowing that you're going to have to think about what these represent anyway tonight for homework. Okay, what questions do you have about what we're doing right now? So I think you need about 10 to 15 minutes to find your 2 quotes, to copy them down into your chart. And then you can either talk about what you think they symbolize, or you can copy my symbolism down, knowing that later you're going to have to think of your own. And if you are confused, go ahead and send me a message, or I think the first thing to do is just kind of look at the screen and be like, what does she want me to do? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording. You guys just keep working. There's just no need to have 15 minutes of nothingness. So if you're watching this video because you missed class, you should right now be filling out this chart. Zoom recording. Okay, so if you go to Canvas, you'll see where you're uploading the Gift of the Magi paragraph that you're going to write tonight, that's due tomorrow night. You'll see that there, but you'll also see a fill-in-the-blank outline that gives you step-by-step directions on exactly what to put for each of the colors, and those tiny words right there, that's what is like to put for each color. Okay, so you have this, and it gives you good sentence starters and really specific prompts for each color, so you know what to do. And the beauty of this is you can use this for basically any paragraph you're ever going to write about symbolism, period. 100, 100. Because symbolism is something you'll use in literature for the rest of your academic career. So this is a great resource, just kind of like when we had a fill in the blank of how to write about ethos, pathos, and logos, you can reuse that, same with this. So you have that, and then you also have, and the last thing in the module is a model, a sample paragraph that shows exactly, oh, also the notes that we took, but some more directions of exactly how to do the paragraph, and then a sample paragraph of what it will look like, as well as like the prompt itself. So I'm going to pull that up on my Word so I can see it a little bit better, and we'll just go over the sample paragraph, and then you guys will be good to go. Okay, so in your paragraph, your red is going to have, it's going to mention symbolism, the author's name, the genre, the title, and then of course what the symbol is and what it represents. Your orange is going to give us a lot of detail so that we can be prepared for the quote. Your orange should tell us like what state is Della or Jim in emotionally, what's going on, what's the conflict, what's the problem, why are they upset, what time of year it is. You got to give me some details so I know what's happening. Yellow is going to be that quote that we discussed that you did in your chart. It will be 2 quotes joined with ellipses and brackets. Your green will reference that you took 2 quotes from 2 different places. So maybe it's 105, 106, or maybe your quotes were all on the same page, so you don't have to do that. Your blue is going to stay in the literal. Try not to get all analytical in your blue. Try to really just tell me what exactly is said in the quote that you chose. And then purple is where you're going to analyze what that quote shows about the character or the situation. You're going to analyze how it gives us a deeper meaning of the plot or the characters. I recommend that you use the sentence starters in the model below and in the attachment on Canvas. That's what they're there for. For your purple and your red, you want, oh, I should take this out. Sorry, that's from last year. Okay, so this is a sample paragraph, and I'm just going to read it out loud so you can get a feel. And as I've done since the beginning of the year, I always give you sample paragraphs. But I still get paragraphs that don't look like this. And I don't mean that don't have the exact same words, because obviously you're not plagiarizing. But your paragraph should physically look like this. Like visibly from afar, all of your paragraphs should look the same, right? It should have your name, your teacher, the class, and the period, and the date, and that's usually the due date is what's recommended. Yes, yeah, that's fine. If your quotes instead of coincidentally be mine, because I know that they're good quotes. So, and then it should have a title, right? Like Symbolism in Gift of the Magi. And then it should have the paragraph. It should be indented with the tab button. It should be color coded. It should be in 12-point Times New Roman font, right? And that's what it should look like. This should be black. If yours doesn't look like that, I am going to start taking off points, right? Because at first I just was like, no, just write the paragraph, please. I'm just happy that you're writing. But now I'm like, no, we've talked about MLA format, right? That was what your last essay was supposed to be in. And it's something that's pretty easy. You can literally Google it. But yeah, yours should look like that, right? So symbolism in Gift of the Magi. In O. Henry's short story, Gift of the Magi, Della's hair symbolizes her worth as a woman at that time. We see this when, after crying about not being able to give her husband Jim a present, Della scrutinizes her valued hair in the mirror and considers it as a possible source of income. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hang out the window some day to dry, just to depreciate Her Majesty's jewels and gifts. So now Della's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knee. It made itself almost a garment for her. O. Henry, 106. Here we see how Della's hair is so beautiful and luscious that it would make even the richest royal envious. Della's hair symbolizes her own self-confidence and value as a woman. Della's hair is her only item that is actually worth something, especially as an impoverished woman in 1905. This symbol is used to demonstrate the extreme significance of her sacrifice to cut the very hair she values all off in order to get Jim a present. Okay, so that is your sample paragraph. I'll put that kind of on a clean page so you can see it, but that is what your paragraph should look like in kind of in length, in format. What questions do you have? Your homework is 1 rainbow paragraph analyzing the symbolism of Jim's watch or Della's hair and what it means to him or represents to her. Fill in the blank. Outline is on Canvas and it's due tomorrow night. What questions do you guys have? Feeling good?